Okay, in this video, we're just going to touch up on just a few muscles that we see pop up over the last few terms on the torso, or like abdominal and core muscles. So right here, when you look at this, it's asking, we know that this is the rectus abdominis muscle. So what is the action of it? This one's going to flex the trunk, right? It's going to bring the ribs closer to the pubic bone. That is trunk flexion. What is the insertion of it? So the origin is going to be here, and the insertion is going to be up here. So remember, origin stays still and insertions move. So it's that upper torso that's going to be flexing. So the insertion is going to be the xiphoid process of the sternum, which is here, and then the costal cartilages of ribs 5, 6, and 7. What is this highlighted structure right here? This is called the linea alba, not to be confused with the linea aspera that we saw on the back of the femur. The tendinous inscriptions, the tendinous intersections, those are going to be these here, going horizontal. This right here is the umbilicus, what's highlighted. Okay, now this one, if we look at the choices, we have transverse abdominis, we have internal abdominal oblique, external abdominal oblique, anterior rectus sheath, or rectus abdominis. So we're going to go back and forth because I want to show you here, if we look at these fibers, if we look at the transverse abdominis, these run transversely going across. When we look at the rectus abdominis, these fibers run vertical. When we look at the external oblique, these fibers run on a diagonal, as if your hands were going in your pockets, the same direction as your forearm would go. Those are the external. And then the internal obliques run perpendicular to what the externals were. Okay, so if we go back here and we look at these are going to be the external abdominal oblique. If you look at the direction of these fibers, it looks like if you were putting your hands in your pocket, that's the external oblique. Okay, here is the linea alba. And again, rectus abdominis, the origin is the pubic crest and the pubic symphysis, whereas the insertion is going to be the xiphoid and ribs 5, 6, 7. Here's the transverse abdominis. You can see those fibers running transversely. Here's the external obliques, and then the internal obliques. They kind of run perpendicular. Okay, so my right external oblique is going to rotate my trunk to the left, and my left internal oblique will do the same thing. When I bring my left shoulder to my right hip, it would be my left external oblique and my right internal oblique. So the external oblique on one side and the internal oblique on the other run in the same direction, and then the external oblique on one side and internal oblique on the other, they also run in the same direction, but external and internal obliques are perpendicular to each other. Then some of the spinal muscles along the back for the erector spinae group. So the iliocostalis, going from the ilium all the way up, iliocostalis. Closer to the spine in the central is the spinalis, and the longissimus is this way. Okay, so you have the iliocostalis, looks like it is more lateral, and then you have the longissimus, which is a little bit more medial, and then most midline is the spinalis, right? So it's ILS, ILS, iliocostalis, L, longissimus, and then spinalis. Okay, and it's kind of like superficial and then deeper.